There's never been a better time for physical products than now. My name is Dallin Drubay, and I want to learn from the best minds in the industry. This is the golden age for consumer products. This is a time where anyone can go from zero to financially independent. This is the physical products movement. Welcome to the physical products movement. My name is Dallin Drubay. I am your host. This podcast is powered by Fiddle Inventory, the best, the fastest, the most innovative inventory management software to ever hit the market. These guys are disrupting this industry. No more hefty servers, no more unresponsive customer support. Fiddle is cloud-based, so nothing will get in the way of your production. And Fiddle's created a one-of-a-kind Kanban or Trello board view, so you can see your work orders and sales orders in the most clear way possible. And the best part is, Fiddle is free. It has room to grow and paid plans as you go. But if you want to get started, there's no lengthy demos, no binding contracts, and the free lasts forever. Free trials are a thing of the past. So go to fiddle.io/podcast today to see the latest episodes of this podcast and also to get started. So do you want to just start by introducing yourself? Let us know your name and a little bit about what you've done.
Yeah, so my name is Saul Santos. I am originally from Mexico City, and my family, we live in a city 2 hours north of Mexico City called Querétaro, and that's where we've been for the last 20 years. And I came to the U.S. To play soccer for BYU, so I played soccer at BYU, and then it took me a minute to get done, and I bounced around. I first wanted to study engineering like my father, but I ended up doing industrial design, but I actually didn't finish in industrial design. You give me a second, baby. Sorry, my daughter is here.
You're fine.
Give me 1 second. Hold on. I wasn't calling you baby. I was calling my daughter.
You're good.
Angela.
Yeah. Come here, Judgy.
Okay, so I'll do the intro again.
You're good.
Okay, so I'm from Mexico City, and I came to the U.S. to play soccer at BYU, and I started industrial design at BYU, and I was part of like a bunch of startups in Utah. When I was done with school, I went down to Mexico. My dad passed away around the same time, so I went down to Mexico. I was working for Excite. They manufacture car batteries, so I was working, as a sales guy pretty much down in Mexico.
Yeah.
Then I had an opportunity to come back to the U.S. and help brand Mission Belt, which was Mission Belt was one of the first companies from Utah to make it to Shark Tank.
Yeah, so his last name Hanks.
Seth?
Yeah, Seth.
Yeah, I know Seth. He's a really cool guy.
It's awesome. Yeah, he sorry to interrupt you. His dad, it was my wife's mission president.
He's what? Sorry.
You're fine. Seth's dad is my wife's mission president.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so small world.
Yeah, Seth's a really cool guy.
Anyway, keep going.
So we branded Mission Belt. I mean, when I joined Mission Belt, they had a very basic, website. They were barely getting off the ground, so it was really cool because I learned a lot about how to give, a company their brand identity,
Yeah.
and really, really trying to identify the target consumer, and because in essence you have to deliver a clear message to them through your products. You has to speak to them. It has to create emotions because we buy when we get excited, when we love something.
Yeah.
So getting to know your consumer is crucial. So, and back then I didn't have nearly as much experience, but you definitely got my mind thinking about, okay, who are we? What are we trying to do? Where can we have the most impact? And we at the time we had a very limited budget, because we were doing all this branding before um, the show, before Shark Tank even aired.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we did the website, and like I took the pictures. At the time I was my now wife, we were dating, and I would borrow her camera. And I did all the product photography and the model photography. Like we were doing all sorts of things. And then we have another friend. I don't know if you've talked to Shane Monson, who is the founder of Onsen Towels.
Mm-mm.
Uh, he is just like he ran a crowdfunding campaign for towels that dry well, and pretty much towels that do their job. And he's Japanese, half Japanese, so he started his mission in Japan. So
Hmm.
he took that approach of quality of products, and gave it to his company. Anyways, but he was part of the marketing team back then. So I mean, we were just bouncing off ideas. It was really cool time. So Zach Holtzapfel, who is one of the founders, Jeff Jensen, and then Nate Holtzapfel went to the show. So those were the three founders, and I was employee number one. And we saw the company go from nothing pretty much to millions of dollars.
It's exciting.
And it was really cool. It was a really cool experience, and it was really cool to do everything from the ground up. Even though I was designing and I was branding,
Mm-hmm.
I took, sometimes when our inventory was so low and we couldn't keep up with sales, I would drive down to Los Angeles and rent a U-Haul and drive it myself, because we couldn't wait for the trucking companies to, we couldn't wait like 2 weeks. So I would go, I wouldn't sleep, and in 24 hours I would go down to California and come back so we could ship out product. So it was one of those. It was a very cool experience. And now looking back, I realized how much I learned from that experience.
Yeah.
And then from there I went to. So I had another one of our friends who we played soccer with, Jake Kavanaugh. He had taken over his parents' company called Utah Truffles.
Mm.
And Utah Truffles is been, like you go to Macy's, you go to, so many stores in Utah, and you would always find this chocolate. So, being young and being very aggressive business, he wanted to grow the company. So he bought some other chocolate brands, and we started selling at Costco. So what we would do, he recruited me to come work with them and be a creative director. And what we did was just create chocolate brands.
Awesome.
So, and that was really cool too. And it was a different vibe, different energy. But a lot of I feel like I was pretty.
Sorry.
You're good.
I'm good.
I feel like I feel like I've network has always been like part of who I am, but just to see how it was done, at least in the Utah, Salt Lake County, Utah County, it's I think there's something unique there, and Jake is from Salt Lake, so to see how his interactions, I was always observing and learning,
Yeah.
how those interactions happen, because definitely there's something about Utah that is different, because I feel like people that come in from outside will need some adjustment so they can grasp the network and the interactions, because I feel it's very unique.
It is.
Um, so I learned that from there, and then from there, um, I couldn't work for them anymore because I was in the process of this is actually like probably one of the biggest growth um, experiences of my life is in so I couldn't work for him because I was in the process of getting my work visa.
Uh-huh.
So in the meantime, I had to coach a lot more because I've coached soccer, and then do all the jobs that will pay me cash.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
so even though like I had all this experience and and all this creative mind, I found myself installing roofs, and doing all sorts of manual labor. I used to keep, by then I was married already, used to keep us afloat. And then once, the work permit came in, which, then I felt like it was time to start pursuing what I always wanted, which was to be a footwear designer.
Yeah. That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, so that's a little, I mean, I don't know if you want me to keep going. I don't know if you have specific questions.
Y-
That's kind of like a little how, so uh, that's about the time where I was able to get an internship at Ultra Running up in Logan. I don't know if you're familiar with Ultra.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Ultra it was started in Orem, and Golden Harper, um, and Brian Beckstead, out of Runner's Corner right there in Orem. And it's incredible to see that little brand now it's a real player
Hmm.
in the footwear space. To think that they started a footwear brand in the middle of a recession is
Yeah.
actually it's very remarkable.
Huh.
And so Ultra last year was purchased by VF Corporation,
Mm-hmm.
which is one of the most established, one of the biggest players in apparel and footwear in the whole world. VF, they are the owners of the North Face. They own Vans. They own Timberland. They before they split, they own Lee and Wrangler. They were part of the same company, but Jansport, um, Eagle Creek. They recently um, just sold Reef. At one point, they owned Nautica. I mean, it's just like a big,
Wow.
big, big corporation. But now they also own Ultra, and they moved the company from Logan, Utah, to Denver, Colorado, where it's now headquarters. So, and I was able to do an internship there, and that led me to a full-time job that then turned into like my dream job. One of the biggest challenges that they had, was getting designers up to Logan.
Yeah.
You know, no, not a whole lot of designers, want. I mean, would even want to commute, and for the longest time, Ultra was labeled as the ugly shoe company. Like
Yeah.
no one could get over the fact that there was nothing sexy about this company. And for me, I just took whatever opportunity I had, and we were able to create some really cool products and grow and learn. And it was through Ultra that I was able to go to Asia multiple times, many times, to learn the process, and learn all these things. So, I'm really, really grateful for them for the opportunity that they gave me to just, contribute. But for the most part, it was me that was, doing the learning,
Mm-hmm.
because, I've always liked shoes. I've always been a little bit of a sneakerhead, but then you realize that I didn't know anything, like from constructions and the materials and the possibilities. Once you start getting that knowledge, what you think completely changes. And for me, Ultra was that university. He gave me an opportunity to learn all these things that led me to go to Brooks Running, up in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
It was very it was the biggest compliment that because as we were designing shoes for running shoes for in this specialty running space, you know, I mean, everyone knows that Brooks is probably the number one company in the United States in specialty running outlets, and so for them to, and we were always chasing them, when we were competing at Ultra. I always felt like we talked about them. So I remember when they invited me out for an interview, it was like so surreal that, this company that I was chasing for so long, they would look at me and think that I was like a good fit for, to come and design shoes for them. So, and they asked me to do a project for them in the interview process, and then they invited me to present to, like to their team. And like 2 weeks later, I got an offer, and we moved to Seattle, and it was like an amazing experience.
Wow.
Brooks is full of really cool people.
Hmm.
Brooks, there's just, and Brooks, the young talent at Brooks is, I think Brooks Running is in great hands. Like the younger talent, that I think they will make like a huge impact in the brand. And I think the brand will be. I mean, there's so many good designers and developers, and their biomechanics team is like amazing. You know, I'm if you ever want like a pair of shoes that work, I mean, you can always rely that Brooks will do it for you.
Hmm.
Because they have, their foundation. The foundation for the whole brand is based on their research, and the biomechanics lab, and they
Hmm.
have so many people there that are just qualified and capable, and people that love their job.
It's awesome.
So they love what they do. So that it was hard to leave. It was hard to leave Brooks, but I couldn't pass an opportunity that was presented to me to come back to Utah
Mm-hmm.
and help a Black Diamond with development and potentially, you know, uh, growing their footwear presence. So
Yeah.
that's where that brings us to today.
That's awesome. That's amazing.
In a
So you
nutshell,
go
I
ahead.
was gonna tell you that's just in a nutshell.
No, it's good to hear the whole background. I mean, it seems like you've just followed your dreams and you've gone after what you've believed in, and you've been able to accomplish a whole lot more than most people can. It's amazing. It's really, really amazing. I'm interested to hear, because this podcast is centered around people that are producing products, right? And distributing those products and getting those in front of people. And I know that there are listeners that are in the apparel space and maybe even in shoes. And so you've now worked at quite a few companies in footwear, and you've seen the process and you've seen what works and doesn't work. Do you have any insights into the footwear industry that would be useful for up and coming designers or footwear companies?
So footwear is an interesting space. It's very unique, and even when you have amp experience in other products, including apparel, coming into a footwear brand, sometimes it feels like you have to relearn everything. I've seen people, go through that very specific, learning curve on understanding the whole process, and because like just the everything that goes behind the operations of footwear are incredibly complex, because I mean, just it's the inventory is nightmare,
Mm-hmm.
um, because you have so many sizes and so many colors, and you have to plan so well, and you have to have your distribution channels and know
Right.
exactly. So there's just it seems like it's like a perfect recipe for failure,
Yeah.
you know, just because you need very large investments, in order to make it happen, because you need so many SKUs, and you need to have, like your orders have to be, this size or whatever, because no one's going to take, like a small like order. So, which brings me to my first point, like the companies that have been able to be successful in the footwear space, they are incredibly passionate, and but not only passion can only take you, like so far, but they have a very specific niche. They're servicing like a specific group of people, and because that's what's going to keep them afloat. That's what. So I'll give you the example of Ultra. When Golden started creating, you know, and when Golden, specifically Golden, he was literally cooking shoes in a toaster oven so he could remove part of the midsole, because he believed that some shoes that needed to be just as tall at the heel as they are in the toe, that he felt like they didn't need to be like an offset on the height of the midsole of the shoe. And so he would cook them, cut them, reglue them, and then hand them out in the shoe that he felt that was probably the best shoe that aligned with his vision. So
Hmm.
and the shoe, you know, started to work, started to click with an audience. You know what I mean? So he was able to pick up that pace. That now it's a full on footwear brand. There's a shoe, the Ultra Lone Peak,
Hmm.
and the Ultra Lone Peak is in the top three, if not. I mean, might be second to only the Salomon Speedcross as the top selling trail running shoe in the United States.
Yeah.
It's a huge shoe for REI. So and for as a designer, I mean, if you don't absolutely love shoes, you will get tired of it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, and you need to be in it. What's crazy is, like, I've worked with people in the industry that, or I've been around people in the industry that not necessarily love shoes, and they see it just as a job. And I mean, you can do it because they're incredibly talented, but like, one of the reasons why I wanted to get into footwear is because I love it. So there's ways to get to it. It's not easy, but a lot of footwear companies are always looking for an industrial design background.
Yeah.
And right now there are other programs, at least in the state of Utah. Utah State has a outdoor design and development program that I think is very current to. And for a really long time, I used to think, I used to say that I wish Utah State had an industrial design program,
Yeah.
but I feel like the way they're structured the program will give their graduates a real opportunity to go in the industry, because it's just so geared towards the outdoor industry.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So I feel like the people that go through that program are there because that's their thing, that's their niche, and I feel like the program will prepare them to go into that niche. And then the University of Utah has a multidisciplinary design program, and I know there's some people that come out of that program to establish some really successful companies. I I might be wrong, but I think Nomadic. I think the backpack company and travel backpacks. I think they're graduates from that program.
Yeah.
So I know that Utah State at one point was offering um, forward design classes that was taught by Steve Shorten, who was the senior designer at Ultra. I think he still is the senior designer at Ultra. So he designed this. I mean, he built this curriculum that was very unique on to teach people how to design footwear, and it's all based on his experience on everything that he had to learn from the ground up. Steve is Steve Shorten is a great designer, and I think he his ability to design only comes second to his ability to teach.
Mm.
He's a great teacher. So um, he taught me so many things. But for anyone that wants to do footwear, it's just like there's many roads too, because people a lot of times don't know that you could have any degree and you could be a footwear developer.
Mm.
You know, so let's say that like as a designer works with a developer, the developer is that bridge between the designer and the factory in Asia. That's where most of the shoes are are being made. Everything is shifting to Vietnam or Indonesia out of China. A lot of the development centers for footwear are still in China, but most of the stuff is shifting to Vietnam. But so a developer can be, you can have a business degree. I mean, I've worked with developers with all different degrees. A lot of them share like a love for footwear, or at least an interest in footwear, and they, as they jump into this industry, they it's pretty much matching the whole process. It's a really cool job. It's a really cool job. I work with really awesome developers.
Hmm. That's awesome.
They have to be organ. Yeah, it's a great one. And then another one is that another way to get into footwear is also to be a product line manager or a category, director, category manager, which means that, you know, um, so when you design, I'll tell you, I'll give you like a big picture process. So the product line managers, they come up with a brief, which, that's where all the market insights get gathered into this brief. What they should need to be, they put it together. This is a product line manager. It gets handed to the designers, and then the designers, design the shoe, and the developers make the shoe.
Hmm.
It's like a team that's always working together to make sure that what is designed is what the market needs, or what the consumer wants. So that's kind of like, so there's multiple avenues to get into footwear and have just as much action as a footwear designer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's interesting because it feels like to me the landscape for physical products in general and like these types of processes are all ironed out, right? But it still feels like today is a weird time where products, just in general, it's changing. It feels like there's almost a production revolution happening today.
What's something that's very interesting is I don't know if you have friends who started companies just by contacting someone through AliExpress or Alibaba,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 weeks later they have their first sample,
Yeah.
and so that I think changed the game, because someone ambitious, or someone who really wanted to had an idea, suddenly had like a real shot at starting something. So when people like I had people, I remember I was still at school or fresh out of school. So many people would come to me and be like, "Hey, I have an idea for this product. Can you design it for me?" And that was, a lot of times that was kind of like the what people would do. Their first thought is like, "Oh, I need someone to design my idea."
Mm-hmm.
And my first advice was just like, have you looked on AliExpress to see if there's something like it's really close to what you're doing,
Mm.
and, and then get it, modify it, they'll do it for you, and then you can get going, and then you can save all this cost of
Yeah.
designing, of engineering, of opening molds, of trips to Asia
Mm-hmm.
that for something like that start happening. So that was, I think that completely changed so many things for people that's totally like your idea, and you could shape an idea and have something tangible that you could potentially take to a sales meeting or do a crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah. So I'm not 100% familiar personally with how these new services like Alibaba or AliExpress fully work. Is it literally just you go on there as a wholesaler, or are you able to connect with the original manufacturer and start having the manufacturer product for you?
So 99% of the time you're going to be talking to a broker.
Uh-huh.
So it's someone who's going to make a profit on getting business to a factory.
Yeah.
And if you like, sometimes like when people either speak the language or have an ability to travel,
Mm-hmm.
they might be able to to find the manufacturer, because that's when your margins really, really, really improve.
Yeah.
And I mean, I totally forgot about like I skipped one of my biggest learning opportunities that I had. Is so when I was in Provo, before I got into shoes, there was a company called Chameleons, and it was like these sunglasses that they they had little hinges that would make the arms of the sunglasses interchangeable, so you could have like different colors.
Yeah.
It's a really fun concept. It was what the company had that was amazing. The product was okay, but they had like a team of hustlers. The Bingham brothers,
Yeah.
Jared Bingham and Sean Bingham and Justin Bingham. Those guys just hustle. Their work ethic is second to none. They're just like really, really, they work, and they're driven, and I admire them so much for that attitude. But so the reason why Chameleons was able to be, and then we changed the name to KZ, is because when they started to the name Chameleons, is that they changed the CH for a K, and at the end it had a Z. I was like,
Mm.
oh, let's take the K and the Z that made your brand unique, and that will transition to calling the brand KZ. And we were getting a little bit of traction. We had beanies, and then we were designing backpacks. So we were turning into like an affordable equipment for day adventures. It was nothing, beyond that. But so, the thing that was kept the business, healthy, was that I don't even recall how Sean made this connection,
Yeah.
but Sean was working directly with the manufacturer, and during my 2 years with them, there was many of this, outsourcing companies that would try to get our business because our volume was getting high enough, but no one got even close to what the prices that we were getting directly from the manufacturer.
Mm.
You know, so that's so if people are starting if you it's important. It's I'll say this: it is your relationship with your factory will determine the health and the success of your business.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, so
Hmm.
um, that was the case when we were with KZ,
Hmm.
and after I left KZ specifically to shoes. You know, we were it was fun. We were creating some really fun things there at KZ, and eventually it was sold to they sold the company and they made money from it. So
Wow.
I think that's like I think they took it to Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it was a very cool project for them. Out of a marketing idea that we had, like we really wanted to use social media, mostly Instagram to promote the sunglasses, and we created the adventure hunt, which was like a modern day treasure hunt, and it was really cool because that the marketing idea is what they took to Shark Tank as a company,
Ah,
you know.
right.
So it was I mean it was cool that something that we were using that at the time was as a marketing tool to sell more sunglasses. It grew into into like an actual uh, business model and a company that they were able to take on Shark Tank, and it was cool. It was really cool. And that adventure hunt connected Chris Padilla, who was promoting vacations in Panama through some clients, and so we were, we got I was able to connect Casey with Taylor Shoup, who is the founder of Stands, because they would send us like, stands so we could throw in the the into the treasure box, and we connected with Cotopaxi seeds so they could send some of their packs. So it was really cool times. It was really fun.
It's awesome. This has been super insightful, and you've really opened my eyes to a lot of things I didn't know previously about this industry, and I think it's going to be helpful for a lot of our listeners. So before I let you go here, do you have any sort of advice or direction that you'd want to give people that are involved in the uh, product business space?
I think we are getting into a time where it's really relevant that we think about the impact of our ideas.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to, I'll tell you from a designer's perspective, it's sad to see that sometimes we just design stuff that is going to fill, or end up in a landfill,
Mm-hmm.
quick and taking forever to decompose, and so our decisions have a far greater impact than just who we're gonna sell to,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so I'll tell you, like for me, it's just like I don't know if you knew this, but your color choice can have more or less impact in pollution
Mm-hmm.
because there are certain dyes that require, more water, less water. It's just your decisions down to color are either more or less impactful.
Yeah.
So, part of like the stuff that we do now is just we're really trying to, you know, that are conscious about our our environment, that you know, that also like I love designing things that are easy to build. So the stuff that we make in Asia is not burdensome to the workers, you know?
Yeah.
So, I think, you know, if I can say anything to a product person, it's like, think about the impact. Like, don't, we have to really like get thinking about the hard questions, you know, like how is this product going to, what's the true impact of what I'm trying to sell? I don't
Yeah.
think it's, I don't longer subscribe to with the revenue, with revenue driven companies, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know I mean, they're all, let me rephrase that. All companies are revenue driven, you know,
Hmm.
that's just what it is. But I think we could have missions and we can be transparent and we can really, be striving to leave this place better than we found it.
Yeah.
So um, don't take. I would tell people don't take the shortcut.
Yeah.
You know, don't just don't go for the shallow answer.
Yeah.
Dig deep and find stuff that is meaningful, because also those brands are the ones that stay standing at the end. You know.
Yeah. Hmm.
So that would be my little nugget, I guess.
I love it. Well, perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time. Fascinating stuff. I feel like the two of us could probably just keep going. I'd keep listening to you for hours. I'm glad that we were able to
Yeah.
get connected, though, today. If any of our listeners wanted to connect with you, is there a way they could reach out to you?
Yeah. So I mean, right now you can email me at well, it's social media. Like what I use a lot, Instagram. I what I use the most, and it's at sa.za.ka.
Mm.
So SAZAKA.
Yeah.
Um, and then that's probably like the best way. And people can always like find me on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect.
You know, I'm very active, and you just look for Saul Santos and Black Diamond, and I'll come up. You know, and I try to respond to anyone who has ever messaged me there. So.
Awesome. Sweet. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Cool. Have a good day.